The quiet hum of the Defiance's engines was the only sound in the command center. As Captain Ethan Miller studied the star map, his eyes traced the red boundary line that marked the edge of Council space territory that had once welcomed human ships but now monitored them with suspicion. 5 years had passed since humanity had walked away from the Galactic Council's table, and not a day went by that Ethan didn't think about. That moment, he rubbed his tired eyes. At 35, he was young for a ship captain. But the years since the split had aged everyone in the human fleet. Back then, he had been just a junior diplomatic attaché taking notes while senior ambassadors argued with alien delegates. Now he commanded his own vessel, prowling the edges of what used to be friendly space. Captain incoming. Transmission, said communications officer Frank Harris. It's encrypted. With Olivia's personal key. Ethan straightened up immediately. Send it to my private terminal. He walked quickly to his small office off the main bridge. Olivia Wright had been deep undercover in the Exarillion Empire for 3 years. Her messages came rarely and were always important. The screen lit up with text. Only too dangerous for video. Ethan read quickly, his face growing more serious with each line. Computer call. Admiral Carter, priority 1. While he waited for the connection, Ethan read the message again. The Void Collective had finally made their move. 3 Council worlds under simultaneous attack. According to Olivia, the Council's defense fleet was falling apart against the enemy's strain. Tactics. Captain Miller. Admiral Samantha Carter's face appeared on screen. At 58, she commanded Earth's entire defense force with the same direct approach that had made her famous during first contact. I hope this is important. I'm heading into a meeting with President Peterson. Admiral, we have confirmation from Agent Wright. The Void Collective has launched their attack. 3 systems so far: Proxima, Century, Luton Star, and Test City. All Council protected worlds. Carter's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Casualties unknown, but Olivia reports their unified defense fleet is suffering heavy losses. The defense system we helped design before we left the Council isn't working against the collective attack patterns. Not surprising, Carter said. They never implemented the adaptability protocols we recommended. Too unpredictable for their taste. She paused. Your recommendations, Captain? Ethan appreciated that she still asked, even though she outranked him significantly. We should increase patrols along our outer colonies. If the Council falls, we'll be next. And he hesitated. Speak freely, Captain. We should consider reaching out to non-Council races near the conflict zone. The Noli, the Tressarians, they never joined the Council either. We might form a secondary alliance. Carter nodded. Already in the works. Your other suggestion? Ethan took a deep breath. We could offer assistance to the Council. Carter's eyebrow raised. After how they treated us, the trade blockades, propaganda calling us dangerous primitives, the enemy of my enemy. Admiral, if the Void Collective destroys the Council, their next target is obvious. They won't distinguish between former Council members and current ones. A small smile appeared on Carter's face. You sound like your old boss, Ambassador. Ryan said almost the same thing this morning. She sighed. Keep the Defiance on alert status. Continue intelligence gathering, but maintain your distance from Council vessels. I don't want any Incidents while we decide our next move. Yes, Admiral, the screen went dark. Ethan stood and walked back to the bridge where his crew waited for orders. Set course for the Arcturian border, he told Navigator Deanne Powell, passive. Scans only, we're going to watch what happens, but we're not getting involved. Yet, as the ship changed direction, Ethan looked again at the star map. Council had 13 member species when humans joined. When humans left there were still 13, now with 3 worlds under attack. How many would remain by week's end, the day humans departed? The Galactic Council should have been a setback. Instead, it had prepared them for independence just in time for the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Ethan just hoped their preparation would be enough. Admiral Samantha Carter stood at the window of her office on Earth's orbital command station. The blue planet spun below, peaceful from this distance. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman with short gray hair and the determined eyes of someone who had seen too much conflict. Her computer chimed, "Admiral, incoming transmission from Galactic Council headquarters, priority level. Urgent." Samantha turned from the window. "Display it." The screen flickered to life, showing the scaled face of High Chancellor Zorax of the Aurelian species. His normally proud posture was noticeably diminished. "Admiral Carter," he said, his translator making his clicks and hisses into smooth English. "I hope this message finds you well." "Chancellor," she replied coolly, "this is unexpected. 5 years ago it had been Zorax who had led the vote to restrict human expansion, claiming humans were too unpredictable and dangerous to have equal council representation. Now he looked almost humble. "The council requests an emergency meeting with human leadership." Zorax said, "The situation with the Void Collective has worsened." Samantha kept her expression neutral. "I will inform President Peterson of your request. That is all I can promise." After the transmission ended, Samantha immediately called for a transport to Earth. This was too important for video conference. 2 hours later, she sat at the long table in the Human Alliance government chamber. President Kate Peterson listened carefully as Samantha explained the council's request. "They're desperate," said William Donovan, Director of Intelligence. His thin face showed no sympathy. "Let them beg. They put sanctions on our colonies and called us warmongers when we left. The Void Collective won't stop with Council worlds," Samantha reminded him. "Every report from our spies says the same thing. They consume resources and move on to the next target." President Peterson tapped her fingers on the table. At 50, she had led the human exit from the council and built their independent alliance from nothing. "What exactly do you think they want from us?" "Admiral, our military technology, the defensive systems they rejected as too unpredictable 5 years ago, and probably our soldiers." Samantha leaned forward. "This is an opportunity, Madame President. We can set our own terms." Peterson nodded slowly. "We'll attend their meeting, but we bring our own conditions." She looked around the table. "I want a delegation ready to depart within 12 hours. Admiral Carter will lead with support from diplomatic and military personnel." Samantha left the meeting and sent an immediate message to the Defiance, Captain Ethan Miller's intelligence on current council military status would be valuable. His ship would rendezvous with the diplomatic vessel Resolution before they reached Nexus 7. the neutral space station where the emergency council session would take place. On the Defiance, Ethan read the Admiral's orders with mixed feelings. He gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. We're meeting with the council, he explained. They've requested emergency talks. Navigator Diane Powell raised an eyebrow. After 5 years of treating us like dirt, now they want help. The Void Collective has changed the game, Ethan replied. We need to prepare all intelligence reports on Council military strength and collective movements as his crew dispersed to their tasks. Communications officer Frank Harris lingered. Captain, do you think this could be a trap? The council never admitted they were wrong about anything in their 4,000-year history. Ethan shrugged. That's why we'll be armed and ready. Set course to rendezvous with the Resolution. Travel time 18 hours, sir. Ethan nodded. Then we have 18 hours to prepare for every possibility. The council may have forgotten what humans are capable of. It's time to remind them. As the Defiance changed course, Ethan thought about what this meeting could mean. The day humans departed the Galactic Council had marked the beginning of their true independence. This day might determine if that independence lasted or if the entire galaxy would fall to an enemy that showed no mercy to any species. Nexus 7 space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal snowflake. Its 7 extended arms housed representatives from dozens of species, making it the perfect neutral ground for the emergency meeting. The human ship Resolution docked smoothly while the Defiance maintained position nearby. Weapon systems on standby. Ethan walked beside Admiral Carter through the station's main corridor. They were joined by 4 security officers and 2 diplomats. The humans wore their formal blue uniforms with silver trim, a deliberate contrast to the council's traditional purple and gold. Remember, Samantha said quietly, we're here to listen first. Let them explain how bad things really are before we offer anything. They entered the council chamber, and Ethan immediately noticed the empty seats. The circular room had 13 large chairs for the main council races, but at least 4 were unoccupied. The missing representatives were from worlds that had fallen to the Void Collective. High Chancellor Zorak stood as they entered. Admiral Carter, Captain Miller. The council welcomes humanity's representatives. His formal greeting couldn't hide the tension in the room. Chancellor Samantha replied with a slight nod. We and LT Unk and GT come to hear your request. The humans took seats at a smaller table positioned near the main circle. Ethan noted how this arrangement tried to maintain the illusion of council superiority. Summit ignored the implied hierarchy and sat straight, her posture making the small chair seem like a throne. Zorak spoke for nearly 20 minutes, describing the Void Collective's attacks. 3 council worlds completely overrun, 4 more under direct threat. The Unified Defense Fleet losing ships faster than they could be replaced. Our scientists cannot understand their attack patterns, said Counselor Vin of the Morans, a bird-like species known for their logical minds. They chain tactics constantly, adapting to our responses before we fully implement them. How unfortunate, Samantha said, her voice neutral. When humans proposed defense systems based on randomized response patterns 5 years ago, Council voted unanimously against them. Several council members shifted Uncomfortably in their seats, Ethan hid a small smile. The past cannot be changed, Zorak said. We are here to discuss the future. The council requests human assistance in this conflict. What specifically do you want from us? Samantha asked. Access to your military technology, coordination with your fleet, perhaps. Zorax hesitated. Perhaps joint leadership of the defense initiative. The room went silent. Ethan couldn't believe what he had heard. Proud Council was offering shared command. Samantha leaned forward. Before we consider any military cooperation, certain political matters must be resolved. Full recognition of human sovereignty, complete removal of all trade sanctions against human colonies, access to the Council technology, archives that were denied to us. Impossible, shouted the Cerulean representative, his gray skin flushing purple with anger. You demand too much. For your assistance, Ethan stood up, pulling a data pad from his jacket. Perhaps this will help you understand our position. He transferred files to the main display screen. These are void collective fleet movements from the past month. Notice how they're forming a pattern that will bring them to the Exorlian home system within 20 days. The Exorelian fell silent, staring at the data. How did you obtain this intelligence? Zorax asked. Our networks detected nothing of this encirclement. That's exactly why you need us, Samantha said. Humans excel at seeing patterns. Others miss. We think differently. That's what scared you 5 years ago. Now, that same quality might save you. The council members talked among themselves. In hushed voices, finally Zorax spoke. We will consider your terms, but military coordination must begin immediately. Every day we delay costs lives. Samantha stood. We'll begin preparations while you consider our conditions, but make no mistake, we will not commit our forces without formal recognition of human independence. The day we departed your council was the day we stopped accepting second-class status in this universe. As they left the chamber, Ethan whispered to Samantha, do you think they'll agree? She gave him a grim smile. They have no choice. Question is whether they can swallow their pride before it's too late for all of us. Back on Earth, the main conference room of the defense headquarters buzzed with activity. Admiral Carter stood before the assembled military and scientific leaders, her face serious as the projector displayed images of the void collective attacks. The council has formally accepted our terms, she announced. They've recognized human sovereignty and ended all sanctions. Now, we must deliver on our promise of military assistance. President Peterson, seated at the head of the table, nodded. It's time to activate the Phoenix protocol. A murmur spread through the room. For 5 years, the Phoenix protocol had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a defense system developed after their departure from the council. Admiral Carter pressed a button and the display changed to show a complex network of interconnected nodes. Dr. Nathan Brooks will explain the system. For those not yet briefed, a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair stood up. Dr. Brooks had spent the last decade studying the intersection of human neurology and combat response patterns. The Phoenix protocol isn't just a weapon system, he explained. It's a new approach to space combat that the council races would never have approved. Their military doctrine relies on logical, predictable response patterns. The Void Collective has learned to counter these patterns easily. He pointed to the display. Our system instead uses human neural patterns, specifically our unpredictability and creativity under pressure. The AI doesn't make decisions for the pilot, it enhances the human operator's natural instincts and reaction speed. In simple terms, Admiral Carter added, counsel. Ships fight like machines, efficient but predictable. Phoenix Protocol lets our ships fight like humans, creative and unpredictable. General Paul Howard, head of the Fleet Training Division, looked concerned. Which pilots have been selected for the first deployment? We've chosen 20 squadron leaders based on their adaptability scores, Admiral Carter replied. Major Lisa Coleman will command the first wing. At the mention of her name, a woman near the back the room straightened. Major Coleman had nearly been court-martialed twice during joint exercises with Council forces. Her flight patterns had been deemed recklessly unpredictable by alien commanders. Now those same traits made her perfect for Phoenix Protocol. Dr. Brooks continued his explanation. The neural interface requires extensive training. Pilots must learn to trust their instincts while the system amplifies their reactions. Major Coleman squadron has achieved 97% synchronization in simulations. President Peterson stood up. How soon can we deploy? 3 days for final calibrations. Dr. Brooks answered. Then the system can be installed on our advanced fleet. The Council expects immediate assistance. Admiral Carter warned they'll have to wait 3 days. President Peterson replied firmly. We do this right or not at all. After the meeting, Ethan found Major Coleman in the training center. She was inside a simulation pod, her face locked in concentration as virtual displays showed her fighter evading enemy fire. When she finished, Ethan approached her. Impressive flying, Major. Lisa smiled as she removed the neural interface headset. Captain Miller, I heard you we're back from the Council meeting. I'll be joining the deployment as tactical officer on the command ship, he said. Admiral Carter speaks highly of your abilities. Lisa ran a hand through her short blonde hair. 5 years ago, the Council instructors called my flying style dangerously unpredictable, said I'd never make squadron leader if I didn't follow standard patterns. Times change, Ethan replied. Now that unpredictability is exactly what we need. Do you think it will be enough? She asked, her confident smile fading. The reports from the fallen worlds are horrifying. Ethan's expression grew serious. The Council failed because they couldn't adapt. Humans have always been good at changing to meet new challenges. It's what makes us different. Lisa nodded. 3 days to prepare, then we face the enemy. 3 days, Ethan agreed. The first real test of what humans can do without Council restrictions. Let's make it count. As they walked to the briefing room where the squadron awaited, Ethan felt a strange mix of dread and hope. The day humans departed, the Galactic Council had freed them to develop the Phoenix Protocol. Now they would see if that freedom would save the galaxy or merely delay its fall. The human fleet arrived at the Proyan system 3 days later than the Council commanders had wanted. 5 Council battleships were already in position, maintaining a defensive line against the Void collective outpost that had been established on the system's 4th planet. Admiral Carter's command ship, the Valiant, took position at the center of the formation. Ethan stood at The tactical station on the bridge. Studying the enemy positions. The Council ships are arranged in standard alien defense pattern, he noted. Predictable and inflexible, Admiral Carter nodded, open. A channel to the Council fleet. Commander, the screen lit up to show a reptilian face, Admiral Krell of the Draconians looked irritated. You are late human, the collective has strengthened their position while we waited. We're here now, Admiral Carter replied evenly. Our fighter squadrons will take point position. Your vessels will provide support fire according to the battle plan we transmitted. Krell's scaled face showed clear disapproval. Your fighters are too small to lead this assault. Our capital ship showed. This isn't a debate. Admiral Carter cut him off. Those were the terms your council agreed to. Human tactical command for joint operations. After Krell reluctantly signed off, Carter turned to her communications officer. Signal Major Coleman, Phoenix Squadron is cleared to launch. In her fighter, Lisa Coleman felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as she led her squadron out of the Valiant launch bay. 20 fighters, each piloted by humans specially selected and trained for the Phoenix protocol. Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix lead, she said into her comm. Neural interfaces online. Trust your instincts, not the standard patterns. The small, sleek human fighters moved toward the enemy position in what appeared to be random formation. On the Council ship's alien officers watched with confusion and concern. What are they doing? Admiral Krell demanded from his bridge. They're not maintaining proper attack vector. As the human fighters approached the collective defensive line, something unexpected happened. Instead of launching interceptors to meet them, the collective ships began repositioning, creating a trap formation that would have caught a conventional attack. But the human fighters weren't following convention. Each pilot enhanced by the Phoenix protocol's neural interface made split-second decisions based on instinct rather than doctrine. They scattered in 20 different directions, none following the path the collective had anticipated. They're breaking formation, Krell shouted over the comm. To the Valiant, your fighters are in disarray. Admiral Carter smiled slightly. That's the point, Admiral. Watch and learn. Lisa felt her mind working faster than ever before. The neural interface didn't control her actions, it enhanced her perception and reaction time. She saw an opening in the enemy's defenses where they had shifted to trap an attack that never came. Phoenix 3 and 7 with me, she ordered. We've got a shot at their command ship. 3 human fighters dived through the gap, firing precisely at the collective vessel's vulnerable spots that conventional tactics would never have exposed. The other fighters executed similar unpredictable maneuvers, confusing the hive mind. Coordination of the collective. On the Valiant's bridge, Ethan watched the tactical display with growing excitement. The collective can't predict where our fighters will strike next. Their defensive algorithms are failing. Admiral Carter nodded. Signal the Council ships. Begin support barrage on these coordinates. She highlighted several key positions where the collective defenses had thinned to chase the elusive human fighters. The Council battleships, though still confused by the human tactics, unleashed devastating firepower on the designated targets, caught between the unpredictable strikes of the human fighters and the massive firepower of the Council ships. The Collective position began to crumble. 2 hours later, the battle was over. The collective outpost was destroyed. Its ships either captured or fleeing the system. In the aftermath, Council and human officers gathered on the Valiant. For debriefing, Admiral Krell still looked bewildered. Your tactics violated every principle of space combat, he said to Major Coleman, and yet you succeeded where our standard approaches failed. How? Lisa exchanged glances with Ethan and Admiral Carter before answering. The collective expected you to follow rules, she said simply. Humans have always been good at breaking them. News of the victory at Proyan spread quickly. 3 more joint operations followed, each ending in success for the Human Council forces. Ethan noticed a change in how Council officers treated their human counterparts. The initial distrust was giving way to reluctant respect. On the Valiant, Admiral Carter studied reports from across the front lines. When Ethan entered her office, Captain Miller, you look troubled, she said. Ethan placed a data pad on her desk. A message from Olivia Wright. She's uncovered something concerning in the Exorlian communication networks. Admiral Carter read the message, her expression darkening. Are you certain this intelligence is reliable? Olivia has never been wrong before, Ethan replied. The Ceruleans have been in contact with the Void Collective for months. They're planning to sabotage our next joint operation. Admiral Carter stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The Exorelians always had expansionist ambitions. Even within the Council, they pushed for more territory and resources. They see this war as an opportunity. They're offering human worlds to the collective, Ethan said, anger clear in his voice. In exchange for their own safety, we need to warn the loyal Council members. Carter decided, and we need proof they can't deny. 3 days later, the joint fleet prepared for its largest operation yet. The target was a major Void Collective staging area in the Toss City system. 6 human ships and 12 Council vessels, including 2 Cerulean cruisers, formed the attack force. Ethan had been given command of the human ship Intrepid for this mission. His crew was on high alert, watching the Exorelian vessels for any sign of betrayal. As the fleet approached the jump point, On received an encrypted message from Admiral Carter. Evidence in place, be ready. The fleet entered the TACD system, but something was wrong. Instead of the expected collective presence, they found empty space. Scan the area again, Ethan ordered. They should be here. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. Multiple hostiles incoming. The sensor officer shouted, it's an ambush on the main viewer. Ethan watched as Void Collective ships appeared from behind the system's asteroid belt. At the same moment, the 2 Exorelian cruisers changed course, turning their weapons toward the nearest human vessel. Shields up, evasive maneuvers. Ethan commanded, signal Phoenix Squadron to launch immediately. The Exorelian cruisers fired their energy beams, striking the human ship. Dauntless, its shields failed under the unexpected attack, and explosions rippled along its hull. The Dauntless is taking heavy damage, reported Ethan's communications officer. There, abandoning ship. Ethan opened a channel to all Council vessels. This is Captain Miller of the Intrepid. The Exorelians have betrayed us. They led us into this trap. Most of the Council ships seemed confused, hesitating as they processed this information, but Admiral Krell's Draconian battleship immediately moved to protect the damaged human vessels. We stand with our human allies, Krell announced over the open channel. The Exarilians will answer for this treachery. The battle became chaos. Human fighters engaged the collective ships while trying to avoid fire from the Exarilian cruisers. Admiral Carter's Valiant took a direct hit to its engine section, but continued to fight. Athens' ship shuddered as enemy fire impacted its shields. Target the lead Cerilian cruiser, he ordered. Focus all weapons on their power core. The Intrepid fired, joined by two Council ships that had decided to stand with the humans. Their combined attack overwhelmed the Exarilian shields, and the cruiser exploded in a flash of light. The second Exarilian vessel, seeing its companion destroyed, attempted to flee. It didn't get far before Krell's battleship disabled its engines. The battle ended with heavy losses on both sides. The Dauntless was destroyed with many crew members still unaccounted for. 3 Council ships had been severely damaged, and one had been completely lost. In the aftermath, of Fan stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, looking at the debris field that had once been ships with friends aboard. Day humans departed. The Galactic Council had set events in motion that no one could have predicted. Now that departure had saved them from complete destruction at the hands of supposed allies. 2 weeks after the Exarilian betrayal, the remaining Council members gathered with human leaders on Earth. It was the first time in history that Council representatives had come to the human home world. The meeting room in the Geneva complex was tense as Admiral Carter presented evidence of the Cerilian conspiracy. The recordings from our operative leave no doubt, she said as the final transmission from Olivia Wright played for all to hear. The Exarilians offered the void collective free passage through their territory in exchange for being spared. They specifically mark human worlds as priority targets. High Chancellor Zorax looked older than when Ethan had last seen him. The stress of war and betrayal had taken its toll on the Aurelian leader. The Council has existed for 4,000 years, Zorax said quietly. Never before has one member betrayed another so completely. The Exarilians have been expelled from our ranks. President Peterson stood. Expelling them isn't enough. We're facing extinction. The collective continues to advance despite our victories, and now we know some Council races can't be trusted. Admiral Krell, who had traveled to Earth, personally spoke next. The old Council ways have failed us. We followed the same patterns for too long. The humans have shown us a different path. Ethan, sitting beside Admiral Carter, was surprised by Krell's support. Their early encounters have been marked by the Draconians' disdain for human tactics. We need a new strategy, Admiral Carter said. Fighting defensive battles won't win this war. We must strike directly at the heart of the Void Collective. Murmurs filled the room. No one had seriously considered an offensive strategy before. Carter continued. Our intelligence indicates the collective is controlled by a central neural hub in the Epsilon Aerodani system. It coordinates their hive mind across the galaxy. That system is deep within collective territory. Zorax objected. Heavily defended. A direct assault would be suicide. Not if they don't see it coming, Ethan said, stepping forward. The Phoenix Protocol has given us an edge in every battle. Our pilots can do What the collective doesn't expect. Admiral Carter activated the holographic display showing a complex flight path through collective space. We've developed a strategy, a small, fast fleet using a series of micro jumps to bypass their outer defenses. Micro jumps, Krell asked, alarmed. Those are forbidden by Council safety protocols. The navigational risks alone are acceptable given what's at stake. Carter finished. This is why humans left the Council 5 years ago. Too many rules. Too little adaptation. President Peterson addressed the Council members directly. We don't ask you to abandon your principles. We ask you to let us act according to ours. Those who wish to join this mission may do so. Those who don't can strengthen defenses here. Meeting continued for hours as the plan was debated. In the end, 3 Council races agreed to commit ships to the attack force. The others would maintain defensive positions around key worlds. Later that evening, Ethan found Lisa Coleman in the observation deck of the Earth orbital station. She was watching the stars, seemingly lost in thought. Major, he greeted her, or should I say, Commander. Now, I heard about your promotion. Lisa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just in time for the most dangerous mission yet. My Phoenix squadron will lead the fighter attack on the neural hub. Are you concerned? Ethan asked. Not about my flying, she replied, but the Dauntless. So many good people lost, and for what? Because the Terrillians were too cowardly to stand with us. Ethan looked out at the stars. 5 years ago, when we left the Council, people said humans were reckless, too unpredictable to be trusted. Now those same qualities might save everyone, including the Cerillians, Lisa noted bitterly, even after their betrayal. That's the difference between us and the collective, Ethan said. We fight to protect all sentient life, even those who don't deserve it. Admiral Carter's voice came over the station. Calm. All command staff report to Briefing Room 1. Operation Thunderbolt begins in 12 hours. Ethan and Lisa exchange determined looks. The most daring mission in human history was about to begin, and they would be at its center the day humans departed the Galactic. Council had set them free to take risks no Council race would consider. Now, those risks would determine the fate of the galaxy. The attack fleet assembled near the edge of human space. 5 human warships, including Admiral Carter's flagship Valiant, 3 Council vessels, and 70 fighter craft. It was small compared to the massive fleets that had fought defensive actions, but speed and surprise were more important than numbers for this mission. Ethan stood on the bridge of the Valiant. Beside Admiral Carter, the crew worked with focused intensity, knowing what was at stake. All ships report ready, Admiral, Ethan said. Phoenix Squadron is in launch position. Carter nodded and opened a channel to the fleet. This is Admiral Carter. Today we strike at the heart of the enemy. Many of us may not return, but those who survive will return to a galaxy free from the collective threat. Trust your training. Trust each other. Commence Operation Thunderbolt. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, beginning the complex series of micro jumps that would take them deep into enemy territory. Each jump lasted only seconds, giving the collective minimal time to detect their presence before they moved again. On the 3rd jump, alarm sounded on the Valiant's bridge. Enemy patrols detected. Sensor officer reported they're changing course to intercept. Stay on the jump schedule, Carter ordered. Phoenix Squadron, engage only if they directly threaten our path, Lisa led her fighters toward the approaching collective ships. Phoenix Squadron, defensive pattern Delta, remember your training, unpredictable movements only. The human fighters danced around the enemy vessels, firing quick bursts before changing position. The collective ship struggled to target them, their coordinated movements disrupted by the chaos of the human attack pattern. Meanwhile, the main fleet completed its next jump, bypassing the collective's outer defense network. Lax Squadron followed shortly after, having successfully distracted the patrol. 7 more jumps to target, Ethan announced. Collective forces are mobilizing, but they're confused by our jump pattern. The micro jumps continued, each one bringing them closer to the neural hub. 2 more collective patrols were avoided and 1 was engaged by Phoenix Squadron. With each successful jump, the tension on the bridge grew. They were achieving the impossible, penetrating deep into enemy territory. Then disaster struck. During the 9th jump, one of the Council ships miscalculated its position and emerged too close to a collective battle station. It was immediately targeted by dozens of energy weapons. Draken's Pride is under heavy fire, Ethan reported. Their shields are failing, Admiral. Krell's voice came over the comm. Continue the mission, Admiral Carter. We will draw their attention. The Draken's Pride turned toward the battle station, all weapons firing, creating a divergent for the rest of the fleet to make the next jump. As the Valiant jumped away, Ethan saw the Council ship engulfed in explosions. The final jump brought them to Epsilon Aerodani. The neural hub hung in space before them, a massive structure glowing with pulsing energy. All ships attack pattern Omega. Carter ordered. Phoenix Squadron, target the connection nodes as planned. The battle was intense and chaotic. Collective ships swarmed from all directions, but they moved erratically, as if confused by the direct attack on their control center. Lisa led her fighters through the defensive screen, targeting specific points on the hub structure. Phoenix 3 and 7 with me. We're going for the primary power connector. The Valiant took heavy damage as it provided cover fire for the fighters. A massive explosion rocked the ship, sending crew members flying across the bridge. Admiral Carter was thrown against a console, blood streaming from a gash on her forehead. Admiral Ethan rushed to her side. Continue the attack, she said weakly. You have command now, Captain Miller. Ethan helped her to a chair and took over the command station. All ships focus fire on Section 37. Phoenix Squadron has created an opening. The combined firepower of the remaining fleet concentrated on the weakened section of the hub. On her fighter, Lisa completed her attack run, launching precision torpedoes into the exposed power core. Target hit, she reported. Energy readings fluctuating. The hub began to pulse erratically. Ethan watched as energy surges ran across its surface. All ships pull back. It's going critical. The human and Council ships retreated as the hub structure began to break apart. Massive explosions chained across its surface, and then in a final burst of energy, it detonated completely across the galaxy void. Collective ships suddenly lost coordination, their hive mind connection severed in an instant. On the damaged ridge of the Valiant, Athen helped. Admiral Carter watched the destruction of the neural hub on the view screen.